This podcast is part of the Deluxe Edition Network. To find other great shows on the network, head over to deluxeeditionnetwork.com. That's deluxeeditionnetwork.com.
Yeah, it gets me all hyped, man. I love it. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Films and Fermentation. This is episode 148. We are 2 episodes away from Films and Fermentation live on Tuesday, May 7th at 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time.
It's live.
Just so you know, I'm going to be releasing the link for that episode soon. So if you're planning on joining us for that live episode, we will have a link that'll allow you to join a live chat so you can talk with us during the show. But tonight we are talking about episode 148, Obscure Comic Book Movies. Again, welcome to Films and Fermentation, a movie and alcohol podcast. I'm Leo.
I'm Kevin.
I'm Mike.
We are 3 friends who like to talk shit about movies while getting shit-faced. In this episode, we're diving deep into the vault of cinematic obscurity, where even Batman might need a bat light to find these forgotten gems. Get ready to dust off your spandex and buckle up for a hilarious roller coaster ride through the weirdest corners of comic book adaptation history. From the painfully cheesy to the surprisingly brilliant, we're unpacking the capes, the cowls, and the questionable special effects that make these flicks so gloriously bizarre. Brought to you by ChatGPT. Don't forget to drop us an email at filmsandfermentation@gmail.com or visit linktree.com/filmsandfermentation. Find all of our social media and podcast links. Become part of the Films and Fermentation family by supporting us on Patreon, which will unlock some bonus content for you, or by going to teespring.com to buy some of our merchandise. We're currently looking for some opinions from our listeners out there about the show or anything you think we should change, add, get rid of, whatever. We want to know what you think about the show so we can make it better for you. Also, if you'd like, what's that?
You should wear the spandex. You should wear spandex so we get more.
So I should wear spandex on the show. We want people to look at it.
No, I'm talking about Kevin. He brings
wax Michael's chest.
Go ahead. There's not much there to wax anyway. Kevin waxed you.
Yeah,
give you a show.
Should we perm my chest?
Ooh, we should. Live with Films and Fermentation live. Watch Kevin get waxed. So like I said, you can email us your
that episode.
Yeah, okay. Can I fucking finish this?
No.
We would like to hear your opinion. You can do so through email or DM us at our social sites. Also, we're going to be starting a little newsletter listserv, so if you'd like to be a part of that, please send us your email as well. We are a part of the Deluxe Edition Network, deluxeeditionnetwork.com, The Den, where you can find our podcast and other great podcasts, including the podcasts of the month, Quad Pro Quo, The Stephen Crypto Show, and Drink O'Clock. I need a quick break because we're already going off the rails, so we'll be right back after this little message from Coffee Brothers.
I love a good beer, but right now, I can use a good cup of coffee.
Have you heard about Coffee Brothers?
Oh, yeah. They're that coffee company out of New York, right?
Well, they're more like a coffee wizards of New York City. They source these amazing seasonal blends and single origin coffees. It's like a flavor adventure in every cup. And get this, they roast everything in small batches. None of that mass-produced stuff. It's like each bean gets the VIB treatment.
VIB?
Very important bean.
Sounds fancy, but is it worth it?
Definitely. Plus, they're a two-person team. I mean, that's dedication right there. Two brothers, one mission to caffeinate the world. And right now, you can save 10% on your order. I mean, who doesn't love a good discount?
All right, you've convinced me. Let's get some Coffee Brothers now.
Coffee Brothers, where every cup is a sip of perfection. Save 10% on your next order with the code FNF10. That's FNF10. Cheers to great coffee. And cheers to great alcohol. What are we drinking tonight, gentlemen?
I'll go first.
Go for it.
So, Lee has been drinking the Sam Seasonal that I brought not long ago, and he inspired me to go out and get some of my own. So tonight I'll be starting off with the post-season IPA, and I'll follow that up with the Red Zone Lager.
I like all these new flavors they came out with for the seasonal pack. Red Zone Lager especially is really good.
Yeah,
and the IPA is not bad either for
an IPA. It's not bad.
Mike, what are you drinking?
I am drinking a New Belgium's Oak Spire Bourbon Barrel Ale. It is 9% alcohol by volume. It's the special edition a collaboration between New Belgium and Four Roses.
Nice. So you're on the Four Roses kick, man, because you had the Four Roses last week. Now you got a Four Roses infused beer.
Yeah, 9% alcohol by volume.
It sounds good.
I'm going to be knocked on my ass.
I have professional development tomorrow, so no students. So I think I could get away with what I'm drinking tonight, which is I decided to try to go themed. So I Google searched obscure cocktail recipes. And one of the sites that came up was a site that has cocktails that are beer based. And I'm like, well, that's interesting. A little beer cocktail mix. So let me see what I can find. So I found one that I thought appealed to me because it has three of my favorite things in it, which is beer, coffee, and bourbon. So I'm drinking what's called the Irish cold brew. It is iced coffee, Irish whiskey, and Guinness draft.
Wow.
So you take the whiskey and the coffee, put it on ice with some simple sugar, mix it in your shaker thing like I have here.
Okay.
Pour it in a glass filled with ice, and then pour the Guinness over that. So you get this very rich, dark liquid here that I'm going to sip for the first time. I haven't tried it yet. I've been waiting for the show so I can try it. Here we go.
The big reveal.
It's surprisingly bland.
Oh, that's unfortunate. It's a good thing you have a refrigerator not far that you can replace it with something if need be.
Well, I have the shaker next to me with and the beer too. So because I was going to like refill it if I had to, but I feel like maybe I can try like them separately and see how they taste. It's like I have an Irish coffee in one and Guinness in the other. So, yeah, I thought like because it's coffee, bourbon, or coffee, whiskey, and Guinness. You know, like those are three things that are kind of bitter to begin with. But with the simple sugar in there, I thought that would have sweetened it up a little bit. But it's extra bitter.
Need a lot more simple sugar.
Yeah, I put a lot in because it only asks for like a teaspoonful, and I think I poured like half a container of sugar in it.
The number don't ask for a lot of it. That's for sure.
Yeah, I put a little extra, and it didn't help. But I'll finish it anyway because what the fuck. I'm pretty certain my microphone is going to keep falling off on me tonight. So hold on a sec. Mike, anything happened this week?
This week in film history. In 1947, New Orleans an American musical romance film, premieres. Louis Armstrong and Billie Holiday in her only feature film play supporting roles.
Okay. Yeah. I'm doing this the old school. I'm just gonna be holding the microphone the whole night because my stand keeps falling. I have not seen this film. I never even heard of this film. Which I normally hear of everything, but
Yeah.
I'd be curious to see this because I love Louis Armstrong. Be kind of cool. What's your we got a couple more indie film facts this week.
Yeah, these two are go with a theme, obscure comic book movies. So in 2013, Iron Man 3, directed by Shane Black, starring Robert Downey Jr. and Gwyneth Paltrow, premieres in London.
What do you think, guys? Was it better, worse, or equal to Iron Man 2?
I think it was better than Iron Man 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
I could tell you more about Iron Man 3 than I could tell you about Iron Man 2.
Okay.
I mean, I remember Iron Man 2 that, what's his face was the villain. Mickey.
Yes,
Mickey
you
Rourke.
definitely can tell us more about Iron
Well,
Man.
Mickey Rourke was the villain,
Rourke.
and we get our first
He was Whiplash.
our first War Machine, scene.
You also get Hammer Industries.
Which I would like to have had more Sam Rockwell in the MCU. But Iron Man 3, like I can tell you, we have the extremist thing that makes people blow up. You have all the suits at the end, that big battle where he has all the suits fighting. The president gets abducted. The villain is played by Guy Pearce. You get the scene where
it's also played by Ben Kingsley.
Ben Kingsley. Well, he plays
Trevor
Slattery.
Hey, he's a recurring character in the MCU now. Come on now.
And I can tell you that I saw Iron Man 3 in the theater with Kevin and Uncle Ricky.
Yeah.
We took your dad to the theater to see this.
Yeah.
I would definitely say, if I had to rank them, I do, Iron Man, then 3, then 2.
Okay.
Yeah.
Another benefit of 3 was came out after Avengers, so there was that element to it.
What's your last one there, Mike?
In 2018, Black Panther is the first film shown at a commercial cinema in 35 years in Saudi Arabia as cinemas are reopened.
I can't imagine 35 years without movies. I haven't been able to watch a movie this week, and I'm disappointed.
Imagine you watch a movie when you're 10, and 35 years later, you see your next movie.
And it's an MCU
changes in the movies.
I was going to ask this girl out on a date. I said, next time when we go see a movie, you can pick.
It's say I'm trying to think, a 35-year difference. So it would have been 93?
90, no.
83.
88.
So you would have had maybe you could have said that the last film they saw was Return of the Jedi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Think about the special effects from Return of the Jedi to now.
Yeah.
At least it wasn't something like.
Want to go see Beetlejuice?
Yeah, at least it wasn't something like a black and white film from the 50s was the last thing that they got to say. This is I mean, still I don't fucking know what I'm talking about right now. This is ridiculous. Let's move on. I'm just pissed off at the idea of not being able to see a movie for 35 years. So we're gonna move on to Mike's must-try beer or craft destination segment. Real quick, hold on.
Beer is good. Beer is good. Beer is good. It's not. Beer is good. Beer is good. Beer is good. Let's go drink some beer.
Beer.
I feel like I'm about to break out in a song having to hold the mic the whole show, like a lounge lizard. Mike,
don't forget to tip your waitresses.
My must-try beer this week is Fresh Haze IPA. The independent Bend Brewery does massive justice to the hazy IPA style with this 6.5 ABV juicy bomb. Even without stirring up the sediment from the bottom of the can, it still pours an opaque, glowing orange, and then it gets that solid, settled sediment jumping into your glass at the end. Adding to the cloudiness, the beer smells slightly of dried orange peels, slightly musty with a hint of mandarin tangerine. There you go, boys.
What was the name of that one again?
That was um, Fresh Haze IPA.
Fresh Haze IPA.
It's out of Bend, Oregon.
Right. It just sounded familiar as I was looking up on Untapped. It's not one that I've had.
Deschutes Brewery.
Yeah, it just sounded. I'm sure I probably had something called a hazy
some
IPA.
beer from Deschutes when Megan brought them back from Portland, Oregon, from her work trip.
Okay.
They're very good. I like the brewery. I don't think I had that one though.
Nice.
I think I might just be confusing it with like another hazy IPA or something that I've had because the name just sounded familiar. All right. So
You can skip the second of the last notes because we did not get a chance to watch it.
I don't know. Okay. Yeah. So I had some notes from the last show, and one of them was, what was Mike's wife's opinion of the Stings, having never watched it? They were going to try to watch it this weekend, but you didn't get a chance to.
No, she decided she wanted to go for a drive on Saturday.
She'd
So
rather
we
go for a
would-
drive than watch a Newman Redford film.
Yeah. So we ended up
done
going.
at the same time. You have a pad, an iPad, or a phone. You could just pop that bugger on while you're on your drive. Look, honey.
Somebody's got to be watching the road.
Yeah, but also like Saturday was a really nice day, so I don't blame you for,
Yeah.
for going out. So my other notes that I have from the last show, one is about OJ. So we talked about OJ's passing last week and how the trial of the century that they had in the 90s with his alleged murder of his wife Nicole.
Brown.
So I was thinking about it, and I think OJ's biggest crime, even worse than possible murder, is the fact that his trial is what started the ascendancy of the Kardashian family. His lawyer was Robert Kardashian, and I think thanks to that, we now have the Kardashians on TV. So I think the bigger sin is that
on the TV.
it's terrible. But I also found this meme the other day that I wanted to read to you, which pertains to OJ. It says the Buffalo Bills lost almost every game in 1970. All these losses allowed them to have the first pick in the draft. With the first pick, they took O.J. Simpson. O.J. lived in Buffalo, where he met his wife Nicole and then allegedly killed her. He then hired Robert Kardashian to be his lawyer. They won the case, making the Kardashians somewhat famous. Then Kim Kardashian drops a sex tape, and she becomes famous. So basically, the 1970 Buffalo Bills are the reason we have to deal with the Kardashians today. Because if they would have just won one more game, they would not have had the pick. They would not have taken OJ. He would have never met Nicole. He would have never had the chance to kill her, preventing the entire Kardashian family from ever being a sliver of a subject in modern culture. Damn you, Buffalo Bills. Damn you. So, I just wanted to share that. And then the other note I had from last show is I made a point of saying that I wish I was rich enough one day to bet $1 million chip like Daniel Craig does as James Bond in Casino Royale.
Mhm.
And then I rewatched Ocean's 13 recently and decided I'd rather be rich enough to do this instead. There's a scene in that film at the end where Elliot Gould sits down at a blackjack table and says to the dealer, "Can we please raise the minimum? I'd like to play all the hands." And I'm like, God damn, I wish I'm rich enough one day to buy out a whole fucking table.
It has to raise the minimums.
Raise the minimum so you can play 5 hands of blackjack at the same table. That's badass. And in case you didn't hear it at the beginning of the show, just a reminder that in a couple weeks, May 7th, Tuesday, May 7th, 7:30 p.m., we're going to have our episode 150 live, and it's going to be Filling in the Plot Holes Star Wars edition. We're going to be looking at all of the. I thought of some new things too that I can't wait to talk about, and I'm not going to ruin them tonight. But I have a lot of fucking things to say about this.
Somehow Palpatine survived.
It's about that. It's all about that. I have something else to say about that, but we'll save it for the live show. That's a little teaser for you, folks. Make sure you join us for our live episode to hear what we got to say about the plot holes in Star Wars. There's a lot of them. We're going to be right back after a quick break with some promos, and then we will get to our main segment, the obscure comic book movies. So please stay with us.
The Deluxe Edition Network, also known as The Den, is an incredible podcast network that offers a wide variety of entertaining and informative podcasts.
With a lineup of shows covering various topics, such as interviews with a wide variety of guests, history, music, relationships, true crime, and so much more. The Den provides content that caters to a diverse range of interests.
The hosts and guests on the Deluxe Edition Network demonstrate a deep passion and expertise in their respective fields, making each episode on each show engaging and thought-provoking.
The network fosters a sense of community by encouraging listeners to interact through live chats, social media, and forums, creating an inclusive environment for discussion and sharing opinions.
With its commitment to high-quality production, the shows in the Deluxe Edition Network continue to captivate and entertain its ever-growing audience.
Whether you're a podcast enthusiast or someone looking to explore new topics, The Den is a fantastic platform to dive into and uncover fascinating insights from experts in their fields.
The Deluxe Edition Network is the home of independent awesomeness.
To find all these great podcasts in one convenient location, head over to deluxeeditionnetwork.com. That's deluxeeditionnetwork.com.
Hello, listeners, and welcome to Quad Pro Quo. Right now, you are probably thinking to yourself, oh great, another movie podcast. Well, dear listener, you would be right. But throw in a couple of marriages, decades-long friendships, and a shared property line, and you have just another movie podcast with a shitload of drama. Inspired by the iconic quid pro quo scene in Silence of the Lambs, each week, one of us will pick a movie. It could be a childhood favorite, a classic film noir, an Academy Award winner, or a complete dumpster fire that brings joy to that person's heart. The selector's objective? To get us to love, or at the very least, not hate their pick. Will our marriages, our friendships, and our neighborhood survive? Find out each Thursday on Quad Pro Quo.
All right. We are back from our short break. While we were playing these promos for you, we were having a little discussion about X-Men 97 on Disney Plus. Mike's got a lot to say about it because Mike is an X-Men, aficionado. Kevin and I both appreciate it for what it is, which is a grittier version of a grittier version of what we watched when we were kids.
Mm-hmm.
So we disagree a little bit on the storytelling, but we all agree that Magneto is fabulous. He is like magnifique. He could do like a
hair is perfect.
He could do an herbal essence commercial. Which is a nice segue into tonight's main topic, which is obscure comic book movies. So for this, we're going to be looking at films that are either lesser known or forgotten in a way. In order to try to keep this list at a normal size, because I got a little overboard with it when I was first putting it together. I limited it to the 80s, the 90s, and the 2000s. So there's nothing from, because there were some films from like the 50s, 60s, and 70s I could have threw on here, like Barbarella. But I didn't want to go too far back. So I stuck to the 80s, 90s, and 2000s. And these are the rules for tonight. So we can clearly define what we mean by obscure comic book films. We are not looking at anything that is DC or Marvel, especially since they have been dominating the box office for the last 15, 20 years.
So not
DC or Marvel. These films. What's that, Mike?
We still do not do sex with a duck.
Yeah. Well, we're going to talk about that in the honorables. So, not DC Marvel. All these films made less than $100 million domestically. We're not looking at worldwide box office because that skews the numbers a little bit. So this is just how much money they made in the U.S. And all of these movies here are based on previously published material. It may be a comic book, but it also may be based on an earlier film or a radio or TV series or a book of some kind. So those are the prerequisites we put together for this so that we can just shorten this list a little bit. So starting with the 80s and 90s, and these go in order by year. I know you guys had a problem with me not doing this with our number episode, so I tried to be a little more organized with these notes. So we're going by year here. So the first one on my list came out in 1980, starting off the decade with a bang, literally. Flash Gordon. Flash. Savior of the universe. This is a slight rule exception because this was a DC film, but it's a DC limited. It's a film that was based on a DC limited series that itself was based on a 1930s serial film. 1930s serial film is also one of George Lucas's inspirations for Star Wars. So it's Flash from 1980, starring Sam Jones as the titular character. In fact, it's the only movie I think I can name that Sam Jones was in. You have a very young Timothy Dalton as one of the villains.
Yep.
And who's the main villain? Isn't it Christopher Plummer or is it Max von Sydow?
I have to look that one up.
I gotta look that up. Yeah, I think it was may have been Max von Sydow. It's been a long time since I've seen Flash Gordon. Savior of the universe. So I used to watch this a lot when I was a kid. I don't know why, but it like really appealed to me when I was a kid. And then I remember
special effects.
Yeah, cheesy special effects, but it's a superhero film in a way. Oh, yeah, Max von Sydow. And then there was the guy with the wings, Prince Voltan, played by Brian Blessed. It is cheese.
Oh, it is.
It is like a nice big smelly hunk of like Parmigiana.
This superheroes wearing tank tops.
This movie is why Queen did Highlander to cleanse themselves.
Yeah, isn't like the majority of the soundtrack for this done by Queen as well?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing I remember most is the theme song,
which is Queen. Yes.
I mean, if you're somebody who enjoys cheese and all of its goodness, this is a film for you. So I remember watching it again like a lot later on when I was probably like teenager or whatever, going, what the hell did I ever like about this?
You know what it reminds me of when you see it now? It reminds me of an episode of Power Rangers.
Yeah.
Characters too.
Yeah. Because you got the guy who stars in it was basically like given the role because he had the athletic look of a guy who's supposed to be like a football player and the blonde hair and all that, but not a great actor. In fact, I do know something else he was in, and this is probably a better performance for him. He was in Ted with Mark Wahlberg and the teddy bear voiced by Seth MacFarlane. And
But
yeah,
20
Sam
years
Jones.
later, he got another role.
Well, he plays himself in the film. He somehow ends up at a party that Ted throws at his apartment, and Mark Wahlberg, Ted, and Sam Jones are all doing coke together. And it's a pretty funny scene. And I also think of Blades of Glory with Will Ferrell and John Heder, where they play the male ice skaters who become a pairs team and they skate to the Flash theme song at one point in the movie. That brings us to 1981 and a film I have not seen, but after watching, what's that?
I don't think I've seen this one either.
I gotta fucking watch this. After looking at the trailer for this film, I'm like, God damn it, this is a fucking movie I gotta watch. It's called Condor Man. It came out in 1981. It's inspired by a novel called The Game of X by Robert Sheckley that was published in 1965. Became this movie in 1981, and the reason I want to say it is it stars Michael Crawford 10 years before he became the Phantom of the Opera on Broadway.
Oh, wow.
He is the actor who originated the role of the Phantom on Broadway.
Yeah.
And this is one of his.
He's the actor that originated the character of Condor Man.
He is that too, because this was one of his earliest film roles, one of his first forays into movies. So I'm going to share my screen real quick. All right, here we go. This is the trailer for Condor Man.
Has been recut.
If Condor Man can't do something in real life, then I won't have him do it in one of my comic books.
Woody, you're a great cartoonist, but you're a lousy bird.
What about the Istanbul papers?
Our Russian friends insist the exchange be handled by civilians.
Just pick someone suitable.
What's your name?
Natalia.
They sent a top agent. He called himself Condor Man.
Condor Man? We have a Russian agent who wants to defect. The bear insisted upon you being the escort.
Well, how could the bear know about me?
Because you've already met her. Natalia Rambova of the KGB.
I knew you would come.
Krokov would be most interested.
Watch out!
Send out the Proknoviach. Make sure that Morovich is personally in charge. Escape!
See them? Shoot.
He is not an agent of the CIA. He is a writer of comic books.
I need to watch that because that is the exact kind of trash I love to watch.
Is it not on Disney Plus?
I don't think it is. I think I found it on one of those like free apps like Pluto or Freebie or something like that. But I definitely go watch it because it looks so fucking bad shit.
Disney
the guy
definitely put all their movies on Disney Plus just so we can watch it.
I'll have to look and see, man, because it looks insane. The guy that plays the head of the Russian whatever they are in the movie, I guess they're the mob or something, is the one who goes, he is not a member of the CIA, he is a writer of comic books, is Oliver Reed, who's probably best known as Proximo, the man that trains Russell Crowe in Gladiator. Early role for him. Kev, we lost you. There he is. There he is.
You don't have your mic on there, Kev.
I'm here.
We're having all kinds of fun tonight, man. I hope we get all this shit out of our system before the live show.
Hey, it makes for interesting listening.
Yeah. The next one I have on the list here is Swamp Thing from 1982, which is another small exception to the rule here because it is a DC property, but it was a DC property through a secondary publishing company called Dark Horse Comics, which is no longer owned by DC. So I use that as like my exception. But Swamp Thing is about a man who becomes a Swamp Thing. It's a instance of one of those like DC Marvel things where they rip each other off because you got Swamp Thing, and then for Man Thing for Marvel.
Yeah.
I actually considered putting Werewolf by Night on the list too, but it's a Marvel thing, so I wasn't going to include it.
I always
hear they're
tend to
gonna-
get
I heard they're gonna
Swamp
bring-
Thing mixed up with the Toxic Avenger.
That's next on the list.
Ah,
I hear they're doing a second season or a second movie for
Werewolf by Night.
Yeah.
Nice. I really like that one, so I hope I look forward to that. But getting back to this, Swamp Thing is another one I remember watching a lot as a kid.
Yep. It was a whole lot. So was Toxic Avenger.
Yeah, and it's this, and I can see it's easy to get them confused because it's very similar, like costume design. I don't remember Swamp Thing as much because I was really young when I watched this, but I do remember Return of the Swamp Thing because it co-starred Heather Locklear. The original Swamp Thing co-starred Adrienne Barbeau, who was very popular in John Carpenter films. But yeah, Swamp Thing is one that's like this is definitely obscure because I don't even remember much about it other than it was, this guy who somehow gets turned into this
mossy,
like plant man or something. Now, the Toxic Avenger it came out in 1984. That's a reverse because that wasn't a comic book before, but became a comic book after. It is a movie by the Troma Film Company, which does a lot of like schlocky, crazy like B movie style films. This is probably their most famous film.
Not
Because
Toxic Avenger 2 or 3?
Well, I was gonna say because it spawned like 18 sequels. But it was popular enough that it actually became its own comic book and had like a short run for a while in the 80s.
Well,
There is
Sloth from
he looks like Sloth from the Goonies.
Goonies and gave his own movie.
It's Sloth and the Swamp Thing put together to make the Toxic Avenger. So he's a janitor who falls into toxic waste and he becomes deformed, but also gains super strength and other powers or whatever from the toxic waste, and uses those to become a toxic vigilante in a way. There is a remake in production now of the Toxic Avenger. And are you ready for this? You have no idea who stars in it, do you?
Let me guess. Hold on. Batista.
Nope.
Daniel
The Rock.
Day-Lewis.
You guys are never gonna guess who is starring in the remake of the Toxic Avenger.
Al Pacino. Hooah!
Hooah! I'm toxic. No, it
I'm
stars.
just getting warmed up.
You ready?
Yep.
It stars. So it stars Kevin Bacon, Jane Levy, Jacob Tremblay, Elijah Wood, and in the role of Winston, the Toxic Avenger, Peter Dinklage.
Well,
Winston.
is this one of these things where the nerd falls in, or in this particular case, the little person falls in and then comes out as this large?
They are being very strategic in not releasing images of what he looks like in the makeup.
Okay.
So like, if you look at the images online, because they're already in post-production, so there are like pictures available. It looks batshit crazy. It looks very campy like the original one. And they do show like scenes with Peter Dinklage in it, but as himself. And there's like a teaser scene of him appearing as the Toxic Avenger, but you don't actually see him clearly. It's all in like silhouette. I'll be curious to see it because I like Toxic Avenger,
and I like Peter Dinklage,
and I love Peter Dinklage, and it gives us another connection for Kevin Bacon because he's in it.
Yeah.
All right. That kind of ended the run of like obscure comic films of the 80s. We do have a couple other ones that we're going to have in honorable mentions. I didn't put them on the list particularly because they are like Marvel properties. So we'll talk a little bit about those later. But we're moving into the 90s now. Before we move into the 90s, I want to mention that I have a new drink. I took a sip of the Guinness to see what it tastes like by itself and noticed that it was flat. And I think that might be the reason why my mixed drink didn't come out as good as I thought it was going to be.
Possibly.
Because my Guinness is very flat. And then I tried drinking the coffee whiskey by itself, which normally I'd be fine with, but all the simple sugar that I put into it gave it a really weird taste. And I'm like, I hate wasting it, but I just can't bring myself to finish it. So I went the Kevin route, dipped into the Sam Adams seasonal, and I am drinking a Breakaway Blonde Ale.
Nice.
From the Sam Adams new seasonal pack, which is 4.7% alcohol by volume, so much lighter than what I was drinking.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so moving into the 90s, 1990, we get, I love this fucking movie. This is a movie I can talk about because I've seen it enough times to like remember it pretty clearly. It is directed and written by Sam Raimi, who wrote the Evil Dead series, who wrote the Spider-Man films, at least Spider-Man 1 and 2. This is called Dark Man. What do you say, Mike?
It's been a while since I've seen it. It's been a while since I've seen Dark Man. Isn't the main character the same one that played the Mummy?
All right, so the first Dark Man film in 1990 starred Liam Neeson.
Okay.
And then they made two sequels. There was The Return of Dark Man and Die Dark Man Die, and both of those starred. I can't think of his first name. His last name is Voslo. It's the actor who played the Mummy in the Mummy series.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
He played Darkman in the following films.
Okay.
So like the thing is like Darkman is a guy. He's a scientist who was working on a way to like repair damaged tissue. He gets these mobsters try to kill him in an explosion in his lab. He survives, but he's severely disfigured and has like no feeling in his nerves, but uses his technology to create faces of people and like imitate people. And so that's kind of how they're able to like say he's this different actor in the other films because he could change his face. It's one of Liam Neeson's first roles. It's right before he ends up doing like Schindler's List, which is amazing. And Sam Raimi wrote a short story called Dark Man, which was based on his love of serial superheroes like Flash Gordon and Universal movie monsters like Frankenstein and Dracula. So he combined the two to create this Dark Man character. He also did it because he wanted to write and direct an adaptation of The Shadow, as well as Batman.
That does seem like a modernized version of the Shadow radio series.
Well, he was supposed to do that and Batman, and both were handed to other people. And so he kind of created this original character that is sort of a combination of the two. And honestly, like it's not as good as Batman 1989, but it is way better than The Shadow. Like I really like this movie because Liam Neeson is
better than Alec Baldwin. That's impossible.
Better than Alec Baldwin.
Come on now.
Liam Neeson is a good enough actor that he can make you feel bad for the guy and also like find it pretty cool when he does the action scenes and stuff.
A very particular set of skills.
Yes. They can create other people's faces and then use them to kill you.
I will find you. You will think I'm somebody you know, and then I will kill you.
And I will kill you. It's a cool movie and it's a fun watch and it's very Sam Raimi when you watch it, you can tell. 1991, Disney was trying to get in on the action with this little known property. Well, it's actually pretty well known, but I think it's kind of been forgotten over the years. That is The Rocketeer.
Jennifer Connelly.
I'm going to let you guys talk about this one because I'm going to be honest, I'm not a big fan of The Rocketeer.
I haven't seen it in years. I could have Adrian talk about it, but
I know Adrian kind of is a fan of it.
Oh, I want to say Alan Alda, but it's not Alan Alda. It's Alan Arkin, isn't it?
Yes. Why do you confuse Arkin and Alda?
I don't know. It just happens.
Alan Arkin and what's Timothy Dalton's in this one too.
Timothy Dalton is a villain. Yes, he is the American Nazi. Jennifer Connelly is
the American Nazi.
Gorgeous.
That sounds like a terrible superhero name.
Well, he's not the superhero. He's a super villain in that.
I am the American Nazi.
Yeah, the American.
I'm looking it up now because I don't remember the name of the main.
He did well after this, but I also can't think of his name right now. Rocketeer.
The Rocketeer starred Billy Campbell.
Not Billy Campbell, the Scottish guy. Not him. No.
That's Billy
Much different.
Connolly.
Him. It wasn't him either. You know.
He was the Rocketeer. He was in Bram Stoker's Dracula with Keanu Reeves and Gary Oldman. He was in the movie Enough with Jennifer Lopez. Not too many other things that kind of stick out to me. He does a lot of TV.
He did a lot of TV.
Yeah.
But Rocketeer also had Paul Sorvino. It had Terry O'Quinn, who shows up everywhere.
Terry O'Quinn is definitely like a very popular character actor.
John Polito. No, I liked it. It was 1930s Art Deco style. 1930s, 1940s Art Deco style with, a jetpack on his back and a really fun helmet that made him kind of look half alien, half bug, and a flight jacket, an aviator jacket. It was just really cool. I thought it was really cool.
I think it's, I remember talking about this before, but I feel like it's like Batman did so well in 1989 that all these studios were like, we need to get on this like superhero bandwagon in the 90s. But instead of using like properties that people knew, they all use these like radio show properties. And the Rocketeer, even though it's an original concept created by Disney, it still has that sort of like radio show feel to it because it is like a 1930s serial like Flash Gordon.
I watched this and I think this is the better version of Sky Captain in the World of Tomorrow.
Sky Captain in the World Tomorrow that's a good one. I forgot to put that one on the list, but that's more like style over substance. Whereas at least the Rocketeer had somewhat of a plot.
No, it was good. It had a plot,
It had Jennifer Connelly.
It had
It had 90s Jennifer Connelly, which is a good version of Jennifer Connelly.
That's a good plot right there.
I was searching for on IMDb and something else came up that I didn't know about. Did you know in 2019 and between 2019 and 2020 on Disney Plus, on Disney Junior rather, there was a Rocketeer animated series.
No.
A girl inherits the persona of the Rocketeer, and with the help of her gadget-building friend, they take on epic adventures. So she's like the next Rocketeer, basically. It was on Disney Junior, so it's a kid's show, so I didn't know about it anyway, but it came up while I was looking up information on the main Rocketeer. The next one, guys, this is a fucking crazy one. I don't know if any of you have seen this.
The Guyver?
Hell
yeah.
You've seen it, The Guyver?
I saw it when I was younger, yes.
I saw it because Mark Hamill was in it. I'm like, Luke Skywalker's in another movie? I gotta see this shit. So I have the trailer for this one too, so I'm gonna bring the trailer up because it's a wild movie.
The Guyver.
I gotta watch it
again. The Guyver.
The Guyver.
It's called The Guyver, but it's based on a manga series from Japan called Bio Booster Armor Guyver. But here in America, it was just called The Guyver. So I'm going to share my screen again so I can show you guys the crazy ass trailer for this movie. All right, here we go. The Guyver. I just point out when your director's name is Screaming Mad George, you're in for a ride.
I am the Guyver.
That is a movie that would have really benefited from like actual dialogue in the trailer.
Here's what happened. Mark Hamill heard that it was Screaming Mad George, who was the director.
George
I
was
thought it was George Lucas.
Oh, it was George Lucas. Yeah. Because he doesn't really have he doesn't have a big role in the film. Mark Hamill. He's the detective investigating these like crimes and ends up getting like killed at one point in the film. Like he's not even like hardly in it. It's like if Iron Man and the xenomorph from Alien had a child. It's the Guyver. About a kid who finds alien technology that creates this suit that he uses that gives him superpowers and shit. It's weird. It's a weird ass movie. I gotta rewatch it though because I do remember liking it as a kid. I want to see if I want to kind of see if I like remember if it holds up nowadays.
I say kid, I was 17 when it came out, but hey,
it was 1991, so I was 13. So yeah, it was right in my wheelhouse at that point. The next one I'm passing over to Kevin because I know this is his movie, The Crow, 1994.
Crow, starring Jason Lee and others.
Brandon Lee.
Jason Brandon Lee.
Jason Lee was Banky from It's Chasing Amy.
You thought this was Kevin's movie.
This is I tossing it over to Kevin. Here you go.
Thank you.
He can't even get the damn.
No, this is a cult classic. I watch this every year.
You watch this every year at Halloween. How did you fuck up the stars?
I watch it every year. I don't know why I said Jason Lee. I'm not with it. I am tired and the beer's kicking in. And
at least he didn't say Ben Kingsley again.
That's right.
Good Lord.
Written by James O'Barr. It was a graphic novel. It was really good. It was very heavily music inspired. And I think the actual idea came from James O'Barr losing his fiance. Not in this manner, though. If memory serves correct, James O'Barr's fiance died in a car accident. But it was his way of healing. Many of the poems and lyrics that are in the graphic novel come from bands from the 80s because it was an 80s graphic novel like Joy Division, The Cure, The Smiths, really
Definitely
well.
has a real Cure vibe to it.
Yeah. This is where, unfortunately, Brandon Lee, not Jason Lee, but Brandon Lee, this was his last movie. He died on the set. It was one of the scenes where it was a flashback scene. And one of the, I guess, a piece of I don't want to call it shrapnel or something, got caught in the barrel of the gun of one of the actors who was using it. And ended up shooting him. That actor could not watch the movie after it was completed. He actually took at least 1 year long, rest.
I think it was more than that. I think he took a break from acting for like close to a decade.
What was it?
He was like so devastated by it. I mean, it wasn't his fault, obviously. But
it was Michael Macy who played Fun Boy. He was the one who.
I think it was something like there was like a piece of a blank that was stuck in there from a previous use of the gun. So when the new blank pushed out, it shot the other piece of blank out like a shrapnel piece, and that's what killed him. So it's like a real freak thing.
Yeah. All the footage from that obviously was destroyed. Alex Proyas wasn't even sure if he wanted to put the movie out. This is one of Ernie Hudson's later movies after Ghostbusters. It was I find it to be. I know it's campy, and you can tell the dialogue's camp. The premise is pretty, campy, but I enjoyed the movie. And then they went ahead and made sequels, and the sequels were horrible. And now
I was gonna follow it up with the Iron Man question. Like, so what do you prefer, The Crow 2 or The Crow 3? What's your opinion of the pictures we've seen so far of the new Crow, the reboot?
I am disappointed. It looks like Jared Leto's version of the Joker as the Crow. It looks like a redneck crow, something you find in Alabama, somewhere.
Have you seen a horse fly?
I sometimes I feel like it.
I like Bill Skarsgård, and I like his work that he does. I just don't like the way they have him for this.
Be curious to see like how it turns out. Sometimes I feel like a hero is only as good as their alter ego, and I think the Crow is one of the coolest alter ego names, man. Eric Draven.
Eric Draven, yeah.
It's like such a cool fucking name. All right. So in 1994, we had 3 comic book films come out, all based on like obscure material. So like The Crow was this graphic novel from the 80s. The other 2 films were both radio plays in the 40s, like 30s and 40s. Why anybody wanted to adapt these into movies in 1994, I don't know. One of them is, we already mentioned it earlier, Alec Baldwin in The Shadow, which is a downright piece of trash. I do not like this movie at all. I think it's poorly paced. It's not interesting. It's just, I don't know. It's just so weird. It's just not. But I will forever.
You like Billy Zane in tights?
I will forever champion the Phantom with Billy Zane. It is campy as fuck. He looks ridiculous in that purple leotard. Treat Williams is the overacting champion as the villain in the film. But I will forever champion this movie. I love the Phantom. I don't know what it is, but I get a kick out of this fucking movie. I think it's everything the Shadow should have been. Like, the Shadow wasn't campy enough. The Phantom was like if the Batman and Robin from the 60s was made in 1994.
You just have issues, that's all.
Oh, I like Billy Zane too, man. And Billy Zane's another like career overactor who just fucking hams it up in this movie.
And you also just like Kristen Swanson.
Yeah, is that who plays the
female
love interest in the film? Was it Kristen Swanson?
Well, it's Kristen Swanson, and then you also have Catherine Zeta-Jones. So,
oh, that's right, she's in it too.
Yeah,
she's the like henchwoman to the villain.
To Treat Williams.
Treat Williams. I'm trying to find the movie because there's other films with the word Phantom in the title, and they're like all coming up first. Here it is.
A menace.
The Phantom. Here's the tagline: "Slam evil." Wait. I want to read the IMDb synopsis to you, and keep in mind the star of this film is Billy Zane.
Yes, it is.
The Phantom, descendant of a line of African superheroes.
South African.
It must have been South African, yeah.
From Cape Town.
James were the whitest men I ever seen.
I gotta look up the Shadow because I think I was getting the love interest in the Shadow confused with the love interest in the Phantom.
I thought the Shadow was
the Shadow Penelope Ann Miller?
Yes,
I think it might have been her. I'm looking it up now. Here we go. So it's Alec Baldwin. Penelope Ann Miller. Yeah, I get the love interest confused. Like I thought Penelope Ann Miller was in the Phantom, but it's Christy Swanson.
I mean, looking at it, I would obviously get them mixed up too. Christy Swanson and Penelope Ann Miller are like basically sisters.
So from those two achievements in cinema, we go to 1995 and the Lori Petty helmed oddball comic film. Like, this is a weird one, man. Tank Girl. I kind of enjoy this movie too. It was supposed to be like the movie that shot Lori Petty into like solo stardom, but ended up bombing at the box office. You got Malcolm McDowell in his usual batshit bad guy role.
Mm-hmm.
Ice-T, and a bunch of other actors dressed as mutant kangaroos. One of them is, what's his name? Oh shit! I gotta look it up now. It's gonna fucking torture me. I was like, it's an actor who, like, I can't believe put on makeup to play a mutant kangaroo. So it was Ice-T, and where the hell is it?
Iggy Pop.
No, Iggy Pop's in it too, but he's got a cameo role as a pedophile. Why can't I find a fucking Doug Jones is in it. James Hong. I might be wrong about who I thought the actor was because I can't find it.
It's Penelope Ann Miller.
Yeah, it's Penelope Ann Miller. The person that sticks out to me the most in this film, because I was like really like blown away by how beautiful she was, is Naomi Watts.
I'm reading on trivia that she was ashamed of the film.
She is, yeah. She doesn't talk about it in interviews.
Do you blame her?
I don't blame her either. I'd be ashamed of it too. But she was the one who stood out to me in the film because I thought she was like so beautiful. I never heard of her before. She's an Australian actress. This is like her first movie. I mean, she would go on to much better things, including like Oscar-nominated roles. But it's the thing from the movie that stood out to me the most because I was like, well, who is this actress? Because, you know, Lori Petty is just so fucking over the top in this film. Speaking of over the top female superheroes, the next one, which is also based on a graphic novel, is Barbed Wire, starring Pamela Anderson.
Good thing I didn't hear about that one.
Yeah, this is a movie that was supposed to get Pam Anderson like out of Baywatch and into like a career as a movie star, and it is fucking bad.
Well,
first off, the comic book is like NC-17, and you would think somebody who has been in Playboy and starred in a sex tape wouldn't mind doing stuff on film, and the movie is not R enough to be like to do justice to what the comic book was. That being said, it stars Pamela Anderson. That's really all you need to know. It is not a good movie, but it is very obscure. I gotta look her up because I just saw recently that she's starring in another movie soon. Where?
Oh yeah, it's Pam Anderson and another older actor.
Yeah, I saw it on somewhere. I don't remember what it was, but it looked like it was different because it looked like she was playing like a real person or something. I don't remember what the hell it was now.
Because you know she's not a real person.
Well, no, I mean like a biopic kind of thing, and I'm like, Pamela Anderson. Like, I didn't even think she was still acting. I'm never gonna find it. Fuck it.
She was acting before.
Yeah. So let's move on to a different independent comic turned to film that I actually really like. Bombed at the box office, but I think deserves more love than it got, and it's actually kind of become sort of a cult film at this point. That's The Mystery Men.
Oh, I love this movie.
I do too. It stars Ben Stiller, William H. Macy, Janine Garofalo, Paul Rubens, Jeffrey Rush is the villain. He's got a crazy ass name. It's like Frankenstein von something or something or another.
Yeah.
And your guy's in this, man, Eddie Izzard.
Eddie Izzard. So on the Disco Boys.
This is a movie I think that was a little too weird for most audiences.
Yeah, it talks to the comic book genre of people.
Yeah, and like like these are guys who think they're heroes but really have like
they're blue collar workers who are like, I have to help my city.
So you got Ben Stiller who plays Mr. Furious.
Well, there is one that has powers. It's got the bowling ball.
Yeah, it's Janine Garofalo, but it's not a superpower. It's her father's ghost and trapped inside a bowling ball. You got Ben Stiller as Mr. Furious, whose power is he gets angry. William H. Macy as the shoveler, whose power is he's really good at shoveling. Hank Azaria as the Blue Raja, who's really good at throwing forks. Paul Rubens as the spleen, who just has exploding farts. And my favorite one, Kel Mitchell as the invisible boy, who can only turn invisible when no one is looking at him. I think is the most ironic superpower of all time. I love it. Wes Studi as the Sphinx. Greg Kinnear as Captain Amazing, who is like the only actual like superhero in the film.
He's got sponsors. You got
he sponsors all over his
got, like, Pennzoil
then,
and all this other shit on it.
And then surprisingly, he gets murdered by the actual heroes of the film who kill him trying to save him. Something I didn't expect the first time I saw it, and I was like, "Wow, okay." Eddie Izzard is Tony P, head of the Disco Boys, and then the main villain is Jeffrey Rush as Casanova Frankenstein,
which is a long way from the King's Speech.
It's a long way from Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah. Tom Waits is Doc Heller. He's the guy like makes all the weapons for them. And Claire Forlani plays the like love interest of Ben Stiller's character. I love this movie. It's another one I feel like I gotta revisit. I haven't seen this in a while, but it's like it was too weird for the audiences at the time, but it's definitely gained a following since then, and a following that I think it deserves because it's a really good movie.
Yeah. When I was researching it, this was based off of a actual comic called The Flaming Carrot, which was an odd concept to begin with. Pull that up real quick.
Yeah, I'm bringing it up. The Flaming Carrot.
Flaming Carrot chronicles the further adventures of the strangest man alive. He's got a carrot mask that goes all the way down his crotch. He wears swimming fins on his feet in case he ever has to swim. Abilities are the ability to induce himself into a state of Zen stupidity, the use of nuclear-powered pogo stick, and a semi-automatic pistol, and he wears a utility belt.
And it's like you can imagine how weird this movie would have been if he was the main character.
Yeah.
The Flaming Carrot. I'm bringing up a picture now. I'll put it up on the screen and share it so anybody watching can see this. It's a weird.
Having read 5,000 comic books in a single sitting to win a bet, this poor man suffered brain damage and appeared directly thereafter as the Flaming Carrot.
Here it is. The Flaming Carrot.
Some of his villains. Oh, that's his catchphrase too. And
here it comes again.
Some of his villains are the Artless Dodger, Don Whiskerando, the Bicycle Thief, Garbage Mouth, Mr. Chicken Pants, a giant spider with diapers on, and many others.
Dick Tracy film.
I know. Dick Tracy was on acid.
This is where the Mystery Men have a little side part in this comic book. So
I think the movie benefited from doing the Mystery Men and not the Flaming Carrot. Although in 2024, I think we deserve a Flaming Carrot film.
I do agree.
So we're moving on to the 2000s.
Only a Carrot Top can play him.
Yeah. So moving on to 2000s, we don't have as many movies on this list here because most of the movies in the current century are Marvel and DC and very popular. But we do have a few that fall in the
DC.
Yeah, we do have a few that fall in the realm of obscure from the sense that they come from obscure sources and may not have done as greatly at the box office as you thought. First one is The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, 2003. Based on an Alan Moore graphic novel, stars Sean Connery, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, I think this movie suffered from poor
Sean
writing
Connery.
and poor
Sean Connery not understanding the concept,
and poor. They didn't get the right people to play the parts.
No, they did, and they forced an American character into the script. The Tom Sawyer character is not a member of the
thing
gentleman.
is, I think he's the best part of the movie.
The thing is, he was like squeezed into production because they were afraid that Americans wouldn't go see a movie about all British superheroes. But it's like most Americans don't fucking read anyway, so what did it matter?
Right. And the
I don't think any of them
superheroes are just literary, fictional, literary. I mean, you could
Yeah.
call them heroes, just characters. It's
We had Alan Quatermain, which was Sean
Alan
Connery.
Quatermain, it was
Mina
Dorian
Harker,
Gray, Mina Harker,
Captain
Dr.
Nemo,
Jekyll and Hyde, or Mr.
Captain Nemo,
Nemo.
and then the villain was like based on like the Phantom of the Opera or something.
Well, it was
Moriarty.
Yeah.
Moriarty.
So it's another weird movie, but I mean, I kind of enjoy it. It's the source of one of my favorite Sean Connery quotes. They offered me a role in The Lord of the Rings, and I turned it down because I didn't understand it. They offered me a role in The Matrix, and I turned it down because I didn't understand it. They offered me this role. I didn't understand it, but I wasn't going to turn it down. Because those other movies made like, $80 billion each. I think this is the film that forced him into retirement.
Yeah, he got into it with the director all the time on this. To my understanding.
Alan Quatermain.
Because he didn't understand
it. It's another weird one. It's another one with like some really bizarre like CGI effects too. We go from that to a much better one. One that stars Hugo Weaving, Natalie Portman, and John Hurt. It's another movie based on a graphic novel. It's a much better adaptation, and I was surprised when I saw that this film did not do the business in the United States that I thought it did. It made a lot of money worldwide, but it did not have the domestic gross that I thought it did.
It got hyped, then it kind of like fell off and disappeared.
Yeah, so I'm talking about 2005's V for Vendetta, which is
another one done by
Alan Moore, Alan Moore, and it's an excellent fucking movie. Hugo Weaving is freaking amazing in it.
Yep.
You had to be pretty incredible to convey emotion while wearing a mask the entire film.
Mm-hmm.
Natalie Portman is superb in it. It's a really good movie. Like I was just really surprised that it didn't make the money that I thought it made. I thought it was a bigger hit.
It broadened the world's knowledge of Guy Fawkes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was remember the 5th of December?
Or November.
Or November, whatever it was. I don't remember. So I just remember the mask.
I don't remember it.
I just remember the scene at the beginning where he does like an entire monologue with all words beginning with the letter V, which is pretty freaking amazing. That leads to 2005's Constantine with Keanu Reeves.
And
this is another sort of like rule exception because it's considered a DC property, but it's based on one of their subsidiary comic companies, Vertigo Comics, and the series was not called Constantine; it was called The Hellblazer. But John Constantine
later changed to Constantine, though.
Yeah, because of the popularity of the film. Another one I thought did better than it did in America.
Mm-hmm.
Another one that was like under $100 million. But I enjoyed this film.
I liked it.
I thought it was one of Keanu's better roles. I thought Rachel Weisz is
the images of Rachel Weisz. Go ahead.
Yeah, Rachel Weisz is amazing in it, and I think she's beautiful. And I love Peter Stormare as the devil in this film.
Yeah, at the very end.
That 3-minute cameo is fucking gold. Like it's so good. And Tilda Swinton as Gabriel is really, really good in it.
And I Gavin Rosdale could act.
I don't think he acts great, but he's in it.
He's in it. I did like the imagery of hell. Is terrifying.
I like the scene where he goes to see. You got and Jaimin Hansu in it as Midnight, and the scene where he goes to him.
Right?
What is it?
Swinton's in it as Gabriel.
Tilda Swinton plays Gabriel, the angel Gabriel. Yeah, and Papa Midnight, that's Diamond Heights too. But that scene where he goes to him to use the electric chair
Yeah.
in order to like cross over to hell, it's a really cool scene.
Yeah.
I like the scene where he's taking Rachel Weisz. He puts her in like the bathtub so he can help her cross over to the other side.
Mm-hmm.
And she's getting into the tub, and she's like, "Do I have to take my clothes off?" And he like stops for a second and thinks about it. It's like a pretty funny scene. I like this movie a lot. And in a recent interview, Keanu Reeves was asked like if he could do a sequel to any of his films that he hasn't had a sequel for yet, what would he do? And he said he always wanted to do a sequel to Constantine. And after saying that in the interview, they actually went into production on it. So they're working on a Constantine 2 at this point.
I thought he was going to say Parenthood.
I want to see what happened to him and what's her name at this point in their lives. The next one I have on here, 2006. This is one of the worst movies I've ever fucking watched. It's called Zoom.
Never heard of it.
It's based on a children's book called The Zoom Academy. It's a Disney production, or what's not a Disney production. It when you watch it, it feels like a Disney production because it's kind of like a kid's superhero film, but it stars Tim Allen as a former superhero named Zoom, and he is recruited to train these 4 teenagers who are all who all have superpowers in order to defeat this bad guy. It stars very young Kate Mara, who would go on to play the Invisible Woman, and in this film plays a character very similar to the Invisible Woman. It is not a good movie. It was like the studio who made this was trying to answer for Sky High, which was made by Disney.
Yeah.
Which is not based on a comic book at all, but is an original property, but a much better film. There was a real run of Alan Moore films in the 2000s because the next one is Watchmen.
Yeah.
Watchmen in
He has
2009.
gone on to say he hates when they take his material and make it into movies.
He often he often waives his compensation and gives all of the money on the film to the artist who does the drawings for his comics.
Mm-hmm.
I love the Watchmen graphic novel.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's one of the greatest pieces of literature written in the last 30 years.
Yeah.
The film, I wasn't too disappointed by it.
No,
I know a lot of people shit on it.
Very true adaptation of the graphic novel, with the exception of the ending.
I feel like the change in the ending made sense for the film now.
Yeah.
Instead of having a giant alien monster dropping on New York City, it's nuclear bombs.
Yeah.
And they also cut out that little like subplot about like the pirate. There's like a story about a pirate or something, like a kid reading a comic book, which
story within it, yeah.
But you don't need, because it's just basically a mirror of the main story. It was a little long, I'll say that.
When they released the movie on DVD, I think they actually released a cartoon version of that.
Yeah, it was like a short film that was a special feature.
Yeah.
But I mean, I wasn't disappointed by it. I liked I liked all the actors. I liked all the actors that they chose for it. I thought they all played their roles well. Oh, Rorschach was great.
Rorschach was amazing.
He stole the film. The actor who played him he was a child actor. I gotta bring it up now because I can't remember the actor.
Jackie Earle Haley.
Jackie Earle Haley was in the Bad News Bears.
Was
he? Kid. He was in the original Bad News Bears, and hadn't done much as an actor over the last the years.
Mm-hmm.
When he found out this movie was coming out, he was a big fan of the comic, and he petitioned hard for the role, creating his own like audition tapes, creating his own costume, and like really like pushing for it. And they gave it to him, and I think it was the right choice because he's amazing.
I'd say his character was amazing, and even though it was short-lived, no pun intended, though pun intended because it's the comic, was Jeffrey Dean Morgan's Edward Blake.
The comedian. Yeah, he was really, really good. I like the guy that played the villain Vite. Adrian Veidt, Matthew Good. He was pretty good.
Yeah.
I could have done less with Billy Crudup's giant blue penis. I mean, I know that was like a big deal. That was a big part of the comic book, but I didn't need it on a giant screen in front of me. I have not seen. Did you see the series?
Yes, I thought the series was really well done too.
I haven't watched the series yet. I know it's supposed to be like amazing. It's only one season. I gotta check that out at some point. The next one I have here is the Hellboy franchise. Now, the first one came out in 2010. I was surprised that this didn't make as much money as I thought it did, because I remember it being a box office hit.
I thought it was too.
But I think it was that it made more than what its budget was. But still made less than 100 million domestically. And I actually think Hellboy 2 is the better film.
The Golden Army?
Mm-hmm. The Golden Army, I think, is the better of the two films.
Okay.
I think it's the better of the two films because I think Guillermo del Toro had more freedom on the second film.
Probably.
Was able to use more of his like creative like mix of CGI and practical. The creature designs in the second film are amazing.
I like origin stories, so I kind of like the first
I don't mind origin stories either, but like I don't know I don't feel like I don't know. There was just something about the first. Like I like the first movie, but I feel like the second one's just way more entertaining.
And
I'm not going to talk about the one with David Harbour. That was pure fucking shit.
Ron Perlman will always be my Hellboy.
Yeah. Ron Perlman was always going to be Hellboy, and they had a third one planned. That Guillermo del Toro said in an interview, if he was actually able to make it, it would have destroyed fans. He said,
"Ooh,"
because like the ending that he had planned for it was pretty tragic.
Yeah, that's probably why they didn't.
Well, no, I think they just the studio decided they would rather reboot it, and he didn't want to do that. So, but I like Hellboy, and I was surprised that it ended up being like more obscure than I thought it was.
Mm-hmm.
Next one is 2010's Kick-Ass, which was followed by Kick-Ass 2.
The electric
this is about a kid who wants to be a superhero and buys a scuba diving outfit off of eBay and goes around town trying to fight bad guys, gets his ass kicked a lot, which is where he comes up with the name Kick-Ass. But then eventually he like finds his footing as a hero and saves the day at the end. Co-stars Kevin's favorite actor, Nicolas Cage.
I was going to say, they're good actors except for one. Actually, he did an okay role with this.
Pretty good in it, though. He plays a Batman-esque figure called Big Daddy. And his daughter, played by Chloe Grace Moretz, who fucking steals the movie as Hit Girl. Kick-Ass, the actor who plays Kick-Ass, Aaron Taylor Johnson, was in Bullet Train.
He was in Bullet Train. He was Quicksilver.
He was Quicksilver in the Avengers, Age of Ultron.
Mm-hmm.
And now is going to be playing Kraven the Hunter.
Mm-hmm. He was in Godzilla, too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's had a run of comic book films over his career.
He's done pretty well.
Mm-hmm. It looks a lot different. He didn't Kick-Ass.
Yeah.
The next one I have is Dredd. I'm not doing Judge Dredd with Sylvester Stallone because I hate that fucking movie.
I am the law.
I am talking about the much better Dredd adaptation from 2012 starring Carl Urban, which is much more in line with what the graphic novel was about. Is well paced, well acted, a lot of fun action, and deserves a sequel, but it's probably not going to get one because it did not do well domestically.
Because all people can think of is, I am the law.
I am the law. But I mean, the people who
Rob Schneider.
Yeah, the people who Rob Schneider. The people who have watched this film though have become its defenders. Like it is a really good comic book movie.
Mm-hmm.
And the last one I have on here came out in 2014. More people need to see this. This movie is phenomenal.
Oh,
it's called Snowpiercer. It's based on a French graphic novel about a train that travels the length of the world after an apocalypse freezes the earth over. Survivors. What's that?
That's what the series is about too.
Yeah, that's kind of what the series is about. I haven't watched the series because I'm a big fan of the movie. I didn't really want to watch the series. The movie stars Chris Evans. who they had to like put a lot of like clothing on to hide how bulky he was because he had just come off Captain America, and he's supposed to be playing a guy who's like starving. But he's in it. Jamie Bell plays his best friend. John Hurt's in this one as well. Another return for John Hurt to a comic book film. Ed Harris is the villain. It is a fucking crazy movie. But it's fun to watch, and it's so got some really like interesting like set designs and production designs. Tilda Swinton is in this playing a magnificently weird character. Like just such a
Everything
strange
she
character.
does. I mean, she does weird well.
But this is like a really over the top character for her. Like even for her, it's over the top. But I think it's because the character was originally a man. And so when she got the role, she kind of turned it into her version of what this guy would be like as a woman. And so it's like pretty crazy. It's directed by Bong Joon-ho, who won the Oscar a few years ago for Best Director for the film Parasite. So he's a guy that's kind of become pretty popular in America over the years. So this is one of his first English-speaking productions. And I will champion this because I feel like more people need to see it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I have some honorable mentions. Like I mentioned earlier, Sky High, which came out in 2005. It's a pre-MCU Disney property. I didn't include it because it was not based on anything that was previously published, such as also with the film Super in 2010, starring Rainn Wilson. It has comic books play a big role in the film, but it's not based on any previous material, although there is a connection to the MCU in that it is the first movie ever directed by James Gunn. And it's interesting to see. I have A History of Violence and Road to Perdition on here, which are movies that are pretty well known because they're both Oscar-nominated films. But I don't think a lot of people realize that those two movies were based on graphic novels, especially Road to Perdition. That's a weird one to think about. And then the last one I put in here is Howard the Duck from 1986. I feel like it's a little kind of more popular now since Howard the Duck is in the MCU now as a new character voiced by Seth Green. But the original Howard the Duck from 1986 is one of George Lucas's first bombs. And
not his last.
Hey, there is a meme now out on Facebook. I don't know if you guys have seen it.
No.
Where it shows Michael J. Fox going, "Mom," then it goes to her with Howard.
It's her, yeah. The duck.
Marty, I can explain.
There was an entire episode of the Goldbergs based on.
It is a weird movie that includes a scene of what I can only describe as pseudo bestiality because he's an anthropomorphized duck. Yes. There's duck titties at the beginning of the film.
By George Lucas.
There's the weird ass villain that turns into a giant creature that my wife refuses to watch the movie because it freaks her out. And a very early appearance from Tim Robbins. Yeah, Howard the Duck is a weird one, man.
I believe there is a movie you did miss.
What's that?
The Green Hornet.
That's right. Yeah, The Green Hornet, which is Seth Rogen, based on the comic book as well as the TV series. It's also a DC property.
Yeah, I mean, I would give it an honorable mention.
Yeah, it's an honorable mention film. That's not a great movie either.
No,
not a great movie. And then I have one other honorable mention. I didn't include it on the main list because it's a TV show, but I love this TV show, and it's one that I think I would like to revisit at some point. Yeah, The Greatest American Hero, which had a guy who finds a suit that's an alien artifact, but gives him superpowers, but he can't. I think it's like he can't read the instruction manual because it's not written, or he loses the instruction manual or something, and so doesn't know how to control his powers. And has one of the best TV theme songs of all time. Believe it or not, I'm walking on air.
Who
so that is
be? Believe it or not,
it's just me. So that's our list for obscure comic book films. Mike, do you have any beer trivia or history for us this evening?
I have a fun beer fact. This is a challenge to all beer drinking Americans out there. Okay. While the Czech Republic leads the world in annual beer consumption per capita at 143 liters, the country that consumes the most beer overall is China. Their total average per year is over 46 billion liters, twice the amount drinkers in the United States consume.
I would like to say
They
that that's
also
a.
have 10 times the amount of population.
I was going to say it's a skewed statistic when they got 7 billion people living in the country.
We can't let those communists beat us in beer drinking, guys. Come on. Where's your patriotism?
All righty. So let's talk about our drinks again. What do we think about them tonight? Yours, Mike, I really want to try.
It's really good.
I must say,
I got it as a single from Total Wine and More down in Delaware.
That sounds good, man. I got to try. I would love to try because I love
really
Four
good.
Roses. I love Four Roses bourbon.
I'm not a big bourbon barrel ale person. I think sometimes they're a bit bitter.
Yeah,
but this one sounds smooth.
But if you're you're a fan of the Four Roses to begin with, so that's going to be a bonus, you know.
Yeah,
I love Four Roses too. I'd love to try it.
I'm feeling good after that 9%.
My first drink was kind of a disaster because the Guinness was flat, and overall was not a fun drink. So I kind of drank what I could of it, and then switched to Sam Adams Breakaway Blonde Ale just so I had something to finish off the night with. Kevin, you also hit some of the Sam Adams seasonals. What did you think?
Did the postseason IPA, which was very good. I'm not even going to say for an IPA, it was good beer. But I think I like the Red Zone a little bit more. And I know Sam's going to switch over to their summer soon. So there's summer ale and everything else. But these are good.
Yeah. All right, so thank you for joining us tonight for episode 148 of the Obscure Comic Book Films. We hope you enjoyed listening to this podcast as much as we enjoyed recording it for you. Don't forget, you can drop us an email at filmsandfermentation@gmail.com or visit linktree.com/filmsandfermentation. Find all of our social media and podcast links. Remember, if you'd like to be part of our listserv newsletter, please send us your email address. Or if you have any comments or opinions about the show or things you'd like to see us do, remember, we want the show to be entertaining for you. So let us know what you think about it, either emailing us or dropping us a DM on one of our social sites. You can support us on Patreon. You can buy our merchandise on teespring.com, or you can find out more about us and the other podcasts at the Deluxe Edition Network, The Den, by going to deluxeeditionnetwork.com, where you can find the podcasts of the month, Quad Pro Quo, Steven Crypto Show, and Drink O'Clock. Join us next week. We have one more episode before we go live. On May 7th. Yeah, our next episode 149, is a special episode. So don't forget to stop between the crossroads between Pickled and Fermented for episode 149, which is going to be a 25th anniversary celebration of the Kevin Smith classic Dogma. That is going to be our next episode before episode 150, Films and Fermentation Live.
Bloody Jesus.
So, so once again, I'm Leo.
I'm Kevin.
I'm Mike.
You've been listening to the Films and Fermentation podcast. Cheers, everybody.
Cheers.